Today I might break a common belief about AI image generation. One of these two was made using a fully structured modular prompt system, and the other one was improvised in minutes. Can you guess which one took 8 times longer? Because I tested it. A common belief in AI circles right now is that structured prompting gives you more control. Modular systems are professional, while improvised prompting is amateur. The idea is simple, that if you structure your prompt, your result becomes more predictable, more refined and more scalable. So I decided to test this. I made a lab where I test structured prompting versus improvised prompting, and the result really surprised me. So I started this lab by creating a fictional premium Fintech brand. Their expression is dark, minimal and high-end style, and the lab was based on generating an image for the hero section on their website. So I have the same client, the same constraints, and the same AI tool for image generation. I just used 2 very different approaches to prompting. For this lab, I used Midjourney as the image generation model, and I started with improvised prompting, which was very simple. I just manually wrote a prompt in Midjourney, and I looked at the result, saw what needed to be changed, and then I manually adjusted the prompt and tried again. Then I went on to the structured modular prompting method, where I used Claude to build a prompting system, and then I could divide the prompt into modules and lock certain parameters while tweaking others in isolation. This system was intended to cover all the parameters so that nothing is left to randomness, and in this way achieving both consistency and control of the output. Then I also used ChatGPT to review all the prompts that went out from Claude, but also the results that came out from Midjourney. The lab I did here was done to answer the question whether or not the structured modular prompting method provides better quality, better control and better scalability in generative image workflows than just normal improvised prompting and manual iterations. We start by looking at the first method, which we can call method A, and this is basically where I improvise a prompt and then I manually adjust it and iterate it. It's a very simple and basic attempt, but I just want to show you how it played out and the result to give you some contrast to the more advanced method. So I started with writing an improvised prompt to have a base, and my first shot was a little bit of a failure, I would say, because instead of becoming a background picture to a hero section of a website, it became a picture of a website. So I had to change some words, and I thought maybe I'm lucky next time, but once again I got a picture of a website. So I had to do a more drastic change to the prompt, but after this change I actually got something more or less what I was looking for, because this was this kind of dark, minimalistic, premium vibe that I tried to describe. So one of those images was actually good enough for this purpose. So I decided to go for this image. Then I just wanted to see how locked this result was, if I'm able to change something and how much it changes when I'm modifying the prompt. So I changed some formulations, I changed some aspects, and I added some parameters. As you can see, the result turned out quite different. And then you can see the before and after picture and see the difference here. Midjourney definitely picked up on the changes, but you can still see that there are some commonalities between the two. And the changes you see here, I would say that they are expected, because in this improvised prompt, we don't cover all the aspects. So Midjourney basically have to make up some of the aspects that are not defined. So to summarize method A, you could clearly see a response from the system, that the output visually evolved in a fast pace, and I achieved more or less what I wanted after 3 attempts. But then the final result wasn't that locked, you could say, because when I made these small changes, it rapidly changed to something drastically different. So that was all expected, I would say, because we haven't defined all the parameters in an improvised prompt. So the image that we got as a result of method A is going to act as a reference when we try this advanced prompt system that we can call method B. So now let's look at this more advanced method of trying to optimize the prompt by gaining control with the prompt system. So I gave text input to Claude, and I described the Fintech brand, this high-end dark brand, and I described the context to put a hero image on their website, and I asked Claude to create this prompt system. And Claude is a very capable tool, so you could expect it to be a pro at writing prompt systems. And as I mentioned, I also used ChatGPT to view the prompt outputs from Claude and the image outputs from Midjourney to continuously give new instructions to Claude on how to improve the prompt system. So let's have a look at how this method played out and see if we managed to gain consistency and control of the output. So this is what the prompt system looks like that I used for the advanced prompting method. And this was created with Claude. You can clearly see how it divides the prompt into different modules that can be separately controlled. And then in the end, those modules are compiled into one prompt that goes into Midjourney. And the first shot that I got from this prompt system was some kind of architectural render. Sure, it had a dark premium vibe and it had a monolithical structure, but I didn't want to have ArcViz. So I told it to not do architectural renders, and instead I got some kind of playful, chaotic results. So I still wanted to go back to this more premium vibe, and it fell back to architectural renders. And then it hovered in this kind of architectural render style, from buildings to abstract buildings to monochrome photos of buildings, until I finally arrived in what I initially wanted, which was this kind of abstract block structure that we also have in the reference image that we created in Method A. But what we were lacking now was the material, the variation, the glossiness, glass and metal. So I tried to introduce that by adding this into the system. And after multiple instances of just maintaining charcoal monochrome black, I finally managed to introduce material. But then the whole structure broke instead. So I tried to get the structure back, but also maintaining the material. But then it kept for about 20 iterations, this kind of monochrome black charcoal blocks without material. Finally, I started to see some signs of material, and I got one image that I think was sufficient for the lab. And it was a little bit of gloss, a little bit of material variation. But I tried to push it one more step to introduce more material, and then the whole structure broke. It introduced a whole new type of image style. So if you can compare this result with what I created in Method A, yes, we got a little bit similar result with block structure, we got glossiness, we got a bit of material variation, but it was a huge effort to come even close to Method A. So to summarize this, let's look at what happened here. I designed a structural architecture, a system that was precise and systematic, and I locked geometry, I locked material rules, I locked colors, and in the end I spent about 8 times as many generations as in Method A, and I got roughly the same quality of the result. Sure, I got good consistency, but maybe a bit too good consistency. So here is what surprised me. The structure I created with Claude increased the stability, but stability did not equal control. So the stability made the outputs consistent, but then they locked in and started orbiting within the same structural language. Looking at how this lab played out, we gained really interesting insight into how the diffusion model works, and also a bit of the limits and difficulties using single prompt-centric workflows. So just because you have stability does not mean that you have control of the output. There might be other ways to gain control of the output in image generation, but that is something we will explore later on this channel. When using structured prompt systems, something interesting started to happen. Once certain words or tokens started to dominate the output, monolithic, rectilinear, orthogonal, then when these tokens started to gain weight, Midjourney kept returning to the same visual pool. In the end, I was not really controlling the outputs, but I was nudging Midjourney to collect from visual pools. And when I locked many parameters, Midjourney started orbiting in the same visual pool and only collect results from that one. And that is when we saw these consistent results. And that changed how I think about prompting. Structured prompting increases stability, but stability is definitely not the same as control. If anything, this lab showed me something kind of uncomfortable, that prompting is far more statistical than we want to believe. In the next video, I want to show you why Midjourney kept on producing similar results even when the prompt changed drastically.